Happy fall, everyone, and if you're joining us from the Southern Hemisphere, happy spring. It's a really exciting season for everyone ahead. We're looking forward to fall and winter crops, and others are looking forward to spring and early summer crops. Yesterday, along with my son, niece, and nephew, and sister-in-law, we went and visited the LA County Fair and we saw the agricultural exhibit. We didn't get too many pictures, um, but in doing so, we saw some really interesting plants that we didn't expect to find, like the holy basil. And this year they had a lot of eggplants growing. And the most interesting one I found or saw was a Turkish eggplant. In addition, down by my foot is this volunteer plant that I've been trying to figure out what it is for the longest time. I noticed it growing this year in the front yard garden, and I'm waiting to see if it makes a flower, and flowers are a great way to determine what plants are. But at the fair, looking at one of the agricultural exhibits, we noticed that there is a row of plants that look very similar to this, and with it being planted in a nice row and evenly spaced, it looked like it was planted on purpose. So, looking at the tag for the plant, it could be that this is an oyster plant. It's a very commonly used plant in Europe, according to the tag. So we may have discovered what plant this is. And then for the rest of the day, we walked around a little bit and was a little bit tired from the excursion and didn't feel like going to the market. So looking around what was growing in the backyard, we harvested some Morris heading collards, collard green. It's a plant that um, was being grown for the first time, and we found a dark star zucchini, cooked it up, and this is how it turned out. This is the first time we've grown collard greens, and the variety is Morris heading. It's an heirloom variety. They taste similar to kale and Chinese kale. So if you're in an area where you can't find Chinese kale and you'd like to use Chinese kale in your recipes, you can substitute that with collard greens. And conversely, if you're in an area like Southern California where collard greens aren't very popular, you can substitute Chinese kale for collard greens in your recipes. When harvesting, just make sure to get all the caterpillar eggs off of them, but I suppose that's extra protein for you if you leave or miss some eggs. And next we'll go and see our zucchini plants. Over here are our zucchini plants. This one is a dark star zucchini. It's a stable hybrid between the Raven and the Black Beauty zucchini. It tastes very similar to a Black Beauty, which is very tender and very sweet. And Black Beauty is one of my favorite varieties. To harvest them, you can grab them by the end and twist them off, but when doing so, it breaks it off the stem. So if you're wanting to store your zucchini, best to cut them with the stem using a knife or a pair of pruners. We're seeing a lot of older zucchini that we're letting them ripen so we can collect their seed. Part of that is because we keep forgetting to check on the plants, and they're good at hiding, so they get past the point at which they're enjoyable. Over here is a Black Beauty zucchini, my favorite variety of the Italian squashes. Very sweet and tender when the zucchini is about 6 inches long. So we have a couple that we missed, and they've since gone to a state where they're better to be saved for seed collecting. So in the kitchen, we're going to cook up our collard greens, rendering some bacon out for bacon fat. Our zebrune shallot, going to give that a quick caramelization. Then our chestnut red garlic. Then we throw in our Morris heading collard greens to give it a quick saute. And since this needs to be a quick meal, a quick cooking for a meal, we're not going to render the collard greens down too long. We're just going to let it boil and render it for about 20 minutes because this is a 30-minute meal. After it's rendered down, we'll throw the bacon back on top. Here are our zucchini, our dark star zucchini, and simplest way is to saute them in some olive oil with some salt and some days a little bit of butter, but since this is a very sweet zucchini, we can skip on the butter. After they're sauteed, we'll plate them up. If the resources are available to you, one of the things that I want to highlight in these types of videos is that it's possible to grow your own produce, enough of it to make a meal. Though for me it took a few years to get the hang of it, and I want to continue that trend to grow more and more produce, enough to store for future meals, enough to share with family, friends, and neighbors. And today we have for dinner with in it ingredients from our gardens. So with our lamb sausage that was made ahead of time, frozen, defrosted, and pan fried tonight, it has in there rosemary, wild za'atar, sage, chestnut red garlic, zabroon shallot. Dusted over our rice is togarashi chili powder, and to add to the protein and carbohydrates, we have sauteed dark star zucchini. Along with that, collard greens, which also includes zabroon shallots, chestnut red garlic. Until the next video, thank you for watching, bon appetit, and happy gardening. We're out here this morning doing our normal routine plant check and removing some suckers. Notice some droppings on this Cherokee purple tomato. We'll just keep monitoring the plant and make sure that not too many leaves are harmed. And over here on the other Cherokee purple tomato, we're going to take off that sucker and put it back at the base for the woodlice to turn into woodlice manure.